Good morning, Mathletes and film majors. It's Friday, August 24th. Caitlin, I hope moving in went well for you today. Here in California, I am moving out. So yesterday was my last day working for JPL, which means this weekend I'm going to be moving into my new room where I will be staying for the rest of the school year. My roommate is already gone. So clean. But my side has just become more of a mess since I've started gathering things up. But today I want to talk about my internship and what has undoubtedly been one of the most educational and, dare I say, fun summers that I have ever had. Let me share a few little known facts about JPL with you. First, there's a surprisingly large amount of animals on lab and no one seems to care. I saw deer almost every day, snakes a couple of times, I've even heard stories of mountain lions. And with the level of security that they have now for humans, it is clear to me that for spies trying to steal national secrets, the best course of action is going to be to train a deer to go in and do all of your sneaking around for you. Also, although Caltech and JPL's food is technically done by the same people, theirs is way better and actually cheaper. How is that fair? I am surprised that you would feed the professional rocket scientists better quality food than you would the poor college students. Okay, not that surprised. But still, I am outraged. Also, JPL employees are worse than teenage girls with unlimited texting in terms of the number of abbreviations that they use. I'm pretty sure I've witnessed conversations with just acronyms and conjunctions. And perhaps the easiest job at JPL is that of interior decorator. Because everyone is a scientist, I suppose, they don't really decorate with what I would call classical art. Instead, we have a lot of pictures of rovers or satellites painted on the walls. A lot of images from the Spitzer or Hubble telescopes. There was this one really big painting of vectors in my hallway. This one's just a bunch of equations. I could have made that one, and probably for a lot cheaper than they bought it. This one's cool. It's a kinetic sculpture that was made by an art class at Stanford. It's surprisingly hypnotic, and every time it's moving, I see somebody standing there staring at it. I mean, scientists are well known for their curiosity, and I'll admit to standing there for a few minutes the first time trying to figure out how it worked. You should know NASA's student intern program is very good. They have a lot of different programs for high school and college students at many different centers across the country. If you're a mathlete like me, or perhaps interested in science, I highly recommend that you take a look at one of these programs and consider applying. And once you get there, they have a lot of activities planned for their students. We have a lot of interesting lectures, and I took several really interesting lab tours. I'll go over the highlights with you now. Number one, obviously getting to see how opportunity is driven. But I also got to see an ice photochemistry lab where they study organic materials in ice to better find out how we might find them on Mars, for example. I saw an applied physics lab where they work on a lot of medical devices, which is something you might not have realized NASA does. But one of the coolest things they showed us was their sonic drill. It takes sonic energy and converts it into mechanical energy so that they can spin a drill head. I think it's clear what they should work on next. I also got to see the Team X office where they bring in experts from different areas and get them together and run a bunch of simulations and tests to try to see whether a mission is plausible and how to best carry it out. Their office looks a lot like the mission control place, and their planning room, guess what they call it? Left field, because they want to encourage crazy ideas that are out in left field. Here's a hint: you can easily tell how cool a lab's going to be by the number of hazard signs outside. And while I'm sure that interning at JPL is always awesome, this summer was particularly exciting for me because of the MSL landing. I got to do and see so many things related to MSL that it really gave me a much clearer picture of how missions like this are done. From the outside, just seeing it on TV and reading about it really makes it seem like magic, but after spending the summer talking to the scientists and hearing about how it's done, it still seems like magic to me. I could not have been more lucky to pick this summer. And at the beginning of my internship, I just remember being really excited to be there. To go there every day where they're making amazing discoveries. I wanted to meet as many scientists as I could and hear all about their projects. And not gonna lie, I was pretty excited that I could go around saying, yeah, I work at NASA. But looking back now, what I'm most excited about is that I actually made a contribution there. My first few weeks there were very intimidating. When my mentor first outlined my project, I thought he was crazy and I was never going to be able to understand it. I didn't know any of the formulas or software that they use and work with every day, but I actually ended up using a lot more just problem solving rather than like specific physics or math knowledge. And I did something that might end up being useful when they're planning missions in the future. So I have to say, I'm really sad that my summer's over, but I'll look back on the things that I did and the people that I met very fondly. This summer's really changed my idea of where I see myself going in the future. But mostly, I'll remember how every time I saw my name on a cubicle, it felt a little bit more like I belonged there. How every paper or book that I read or skimmed made me understand things a little bit better and feel a little bit smarter. And most of all, how every time I had to scan my ID to get into a building, I felt a little bit more like a badass. So for the Mathletes, I'm Susan. For the film majors, Caitlin will be back on Monday. For everyone else, thanks for stopping by.